They always said the Academy forged warriors. But some days, it revealed cowards. And at 0700 hours, on a cold training morning, 3 cadets proved exactly that. It started with a simple order. Drop your gear at the rack. Everyone did. Except her. She placed her jacket down carefully. Precisely. As if respect wasn't optional, but required. A clean, pressed, standard-issue coat. A coat that didn't belong to a rookie. Not with its perfect creases. Not with its subtle weight. Not with the way she touched it like it had a history no one else could read. Cadet Huxley, the loudest ego on the base, saw her do it. And smirked. Hey boys, new girl thinks she's special. Before she could turn around, they grabbed her jacket. She got being a counter. And hurled it across the yard. It landed in the mud. Face down. Half buried. Like they wanted to bury her with it. The other cadets froze. Someone whispered. That wasn't smart. Huxley shoved him. Relax, she's nobody. But she wasn't nobody. She wasn't even what they thought she was. And they would learn the truth in a way they'd never forget. She didn't shout. Didn't snap. Didn't threaten. She walked calmly to the mud, lifted the jacket, and looked at it for exactly 1 second. The yard fell silent. Her hands didn't shake. Her breathing didn't change. But her eyes went dark. Not angry. Not wounded. Just remembering. Something from before the academy. Something much heavier than mud. She folded the jacket once, clean, perfect, despite the filth sliding off it. Then she turned her back to the cadets and walked away. Huxley scoffed. See? Weak. But another cadet, older, quieter, watched her leave. His face went pale, like he knew something the others didn't. You idiots, he whispered. You don't even know who you just disrespected. At 9 hours, the entire academy was ordered to formation. It wasn't scheduled. It wasn't routine. But when the Commandant calls a surprise assembly, nobody asked questions. The cadets scrambled into the courtyard. Huxley whispered to his friends. Bet this is about field drills. He had no idea. None of them did. Because when the Commandant stepped onto the platform, every officer behind him froze mid-salute. Every cadet followed their gaze. And the courtyard fell into a silence so sharp it felt like a blade. She was walking toward them. Not in a cadet uniform. Not in fatigues. Not in mud. But in full 4-star general dress. Shoulder boards gleaming. Medals arranged with surgical precision. White gloves spotless. Hat tucked under her arm. Boots so polished they mirrored the sky. The same woman they threw mud at now carried more stars than the entire academy combined. Cadets stumbled. Huxley choked on his own breath. Someone whispered. That can't be. The Commandant stepped aside. Not out of protocol. Out of respect. She took center stage. And for the first time, her voice carried across the entire courtyard. Cadet. You made a mistake. Huxley's knees nearly buckled. She wasn't done. Not because you threw my jacket in the mud, but because you judged a soldier before you knew the uniform they earned. The Commandant cleared his throat and barked. Cadets, you are in the presence of a 4-star general. Gasps. Disbelief. Shock. Huxley tried to swallow. Welcome, Commandant. The Commandant continued, voice trembling with something dangerously close to fear. And she outranks everyone here. She stepped forward, eyes fixed on the cadets who humiliated her.
Training begins when arrogance ends. She scanned the crowd. And today, training begins. The cadets were still laughing near the barracks. Mud on their boots, zero discipline in their posture. When the air changed, a shadow fell across the yard. Not wide, not large, but sharp like a blade cutting through fog. She walked toward them, not in the muddy jacket they'd thrown away, but in a 4-star general's full-dress uniform, pressed so sharply it looked like it could cut steel. Rows of real ribbons. A combat action badge older than every cadet standing there. A unit patch only worn by operators who'd survived missions that never made it to official history. Every cadet froze. One swallowed. Another stepped back. The third whispered, "That can't be real." She stopped in front of them, calm, composed, eyes cold as a firing range barrel. "You wanted to see what I really wear?" Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. It hit them harder than any drill instructor ever had. Boots thundered behind her. 2 command sergeants major and an entire inspection team, following in her wake like an armored convoy. One sergeant barked, "Stand at attention for general." But she lifted a hand. "Not yet." Her stare locked on the cadet holding her muddy jacket. "In my unit," she said, "we punish disrespect with something worse than paperwork." The cadet's throat tightened. "How, ma'am?" She leaned in. "We train you until you become someone worth respecting." The cadets stood rigid, fear crawling up their spines. But the general wasn't finished. She walked past them, boots striking the concrete, with the controlled power of someone who'd marched through war zones, far uglier than this academy yard. "Cadets," she said, not turning. "Pick up that jacket." They scrambled, lifting the mud-soaked fabric with shaking hands. She finally faced them, back on. Not angry, not unhinged. Just wearing the expression of a soldier who'd buried teammates and carried missions alone. "You think rank is cloth?" She tapped the 4 stars on her shoulders. "Rank is weight, and you aren't strong enough to carry it." The cadets lowered their eyes. She stepped closer. Close enough for them to see the scars along her knuckles. The faint burn mark near her collarbone. The reminders of battles they'd only read about in classified briefings. "In special operations," she said, "you don't earn respect by demanding it. You earn it by surviving what breaks others." A command sergeant major approached, saluted, and handed her a pristine academy-issued jacket. She held the muddy one up beside it. "This," she lifted the clean jacket, "is what you think a soldier is?" Then she raised the mud-covered one. "This," she said, "is what a real soldier becomes." Silence. Even the wind stopped to listen. She handed the destroyed jacket back to its owner. "Report to my training ground at 0500. Her tone sharpened. "You want to act like warriors? I'll forge you into ones." She turned toward headquarters, her escort falling in behind her. And as she walked away, one cadet whispered the only words that fit the moment. "God, we messed with the wrong woman."